Hey, what's up YouTube? It's ICU, and in today's video we're going to be unboxing Apple's brand new iPhone XS. If you're interested in the XS Max or the Apple Watch Series 4, our coverage on them will be linked down below in the description as well as in your cards right about now. Now be sure to give this video a huge thumbs up and click that subscribe button below next to the channel name if you have yet to be updated not only when we release new Apple coverage but also new giveaways. Alright, and let's start this video by actually talking about some of the review and comparison aspects. First, I want to really delve into how it stacks up against the iPhone X, which is still a very viable device today in 2018, moving into 2019. In fact, I'm usually a huge proponent to updating to the latest iPhones. However, I think this is the first year that you should really skip it unless you're considering getting the max size. Then it might be worth it. But if you already have an iPhone X, I really cannot recommend getting an iPhone XS right now. There simply aren't enough differences between the two models. In fact, this is the most S upgraded iPhone ever. It's the iPhone XS and XS Max. Now let's talk about all of the differences between the two devices, not really delving into the Max. If you're interested in that one, again, check out our coverage on it. So first, it starts at $1,000, $999, just like the iPhone X did. However, that's changed. Of course, you can pick up an iPhone X now used on eBay for a lot cheaper than that, especially since these new iPhones have released thanks to depreciation. Now, the XS includes the following improvements. The speakers are now louder. It has Dolby Vision as well as HDR10, 120 Hz touch sensing, which isn't to be confused with 120 Hz refresh rate for the display, but it essentially reacts to touches twice as fast. It has the brand new A12 Bionic chip, which, let's face it, is a horrible name considering last year's A11 powering the iPhone X was also dubbed the Bionic chip. So now we have the A12 Bionic, which, although Apple wasn't creative in coming up with a new name, does boast 30% performance improvements basically across the board over its predecessor, being the iPhone X, which is great, and it leads to faster things like Face ID unlocking, as well as supposedly zero shutter lag for the camera. We also have faster LTE, smart HDR, and the sensors now let more light in. You can actually dynamically adjust the f-stop after the picture is taken, which is quite honestly the coolest thing that this iPhone can do. And if that's all it can really do, it doesn't justify the upgrade from last year's model. And it does have slightly better battery life. If you're really interested in better battery life, though, definitely go with the Max, because that one should clock in at over an hour of extra battery across the board for general things such as app usage and web browsing. It's said to be 90 minutes, but you'll most likely get closer to an hour in real world applications over something like the iPhone X. And last but not least, it does have a slightly better dust and water resistant rating at IP68. So this thing is more water resistant than last year's model, but that's about it. Now, let's get into the actual unboxing. Starting with the box itself, it looks really great this time around. It actually looks much better than the XS Max box, in my opinion. The wallpaper is gorgeous. We just have an actual depiction of the device on the front. Both sides say iPhone, top and bottom have the Apple logo, like usual, and the back just contains some additional information such as what it includes inside the box, serial number, IMEI toward the bottom, and it also specifies that this is the 64GB variation at the top. And now let's take the plastic off using this conveniently placed plastic tab at the bottom. Just start peeling it back like so. Alright, and lifting the lid reveals a packet sitting directly on top, and below that we have the iPhone itself, the XS in the brand new color option, gold. But let's get into this packet and what it contains first. Alright, so it merely says designed by Apple in California, like it has every year. And then lifting the actual contents out, we're greeted with a page that says hello. It unfolds in an accordion-like style. This is basically just the quick setup guide for the iPhone XS. Talks about using Face ID, Control Center, how to get home, basically all of the gestures that Apple introduced with the iPhone X. And what should be pretty interesting here is what it actually says for charging. So down below at the bottom, it says place iPhone with screen facing up on AirPower or a Qi charging wireless charger. But what's really interesting here is that it says AirPower, guys. For those of you who don't know, AirPower was the device that Apple announced over a year ago during their September media event when unveiling the iPhone X, and it seemingly disappeared since then, and we haven't heard anything of it really from Apple until now. The informational sheet they shipped with the iPhone XS makes mention of it. Does that mean it's going to come soon? Well, there have actually been some leaks recently. Some additional information inside of iOS 12.1 beta's code does suggest, along with this material, that it is going to be released soon, hopefully before the year is out. Apple's initial ETA for the device was 2018. Maybe they'll still be able to make it. Let me know down below in the comment section if you're looking forward to AirPower, which should be able to simultaneously charge not only your iPhone, but also your Apple Watch Series 3 and up, as well as your AirPods if you upgrade them with the wireless charger, which should be made available when AirPower is. Now, next, in addition to that, inside of that little packet, we have a SIM ejector tool because this is the unlocked or SIM-free variation. And we have an iPhone user guide as well as 2 Apple logo stickers, just white ones this time around. Now let's go ahead and pop this guy out of the box. And I'm going to ensure that we do get a close-up taking the plastic off because of course that is the best part of an iPhone unboxing, getting to take the plastic wrap off. All right, so here you go, guys, the iPhone XS in gold. I actually think the gold looks pretty good. It looks better than the gold did last year on the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. It looks more like gold than those devices, which had kind of a beige-ish tinge to it. Though I've got to say, the back glass does kind of look a little orangish, but I really do dig the gold band around it. Gold isn't really my color. I personally usually go with the black variation, whatever Apple decides to call it. But I like it. I can see the appeal to a gold iPhone. All right, it's asking me to swipe up. We're just going to set this off to the side really quick, and we're going to resume to the box, which down below at the bottom, you can see here we do have Apple's regular EarPod headphones. These are not AirPods, of course. Below that, we have an Apple USB to Lightning charging cable, and then we have Apple's standard power brick that you can use to charge your iPhone. And of course, based on whichever country you live in, that will be different for you. All right, now let's quickly set up this device and see if anything has changed in the setup menu. I'm going to tap on Get Started. All right, and once the password's in, it's just going through the activation process right now. We shouldn't have to pop a SIM card in this guy, but if we do, I have my iPhone X handy as well. And for data and privacy, I'm just going to tap on continue there. And now we do have the Face ID option. This setup should just look identical to how it was last year. So we can go ahead and tap continue, and it just brings up information on how to actually set up Face ID. It's very simple. You just keep your face in frame and you spin your face around. So you can see here, we of course have the camera, so it's kind of wigging out right now, but I'm just going to set it up off camera here. It says first Face ID scan complete. So let's go ahead and tap continue. And now it wants to reposition the face within the frame, and Face ID is now set up successfully, exactly the same as last year's iPhone X. All right, so for a passcode, let's just do something random, I guess. And I was thinking about actually running through some Geekbench benchmark tests, but there's really honestly no point. I mean, we know this thing is powered by an A12 CPU, so it is basically up to 30% faster. We know that's going to be the result. There's really honestly no need to run through that. All right, now it says we can just use express settings. So let's go ahead and tap continue. Continue again. Not now. Basically just a lot of settings, and it tells us how to use Siri. And I don't want to actually set this up right this second. So we're going to go back there. And we're going to set it up later. That was just so Siri can automatically identify you. And of course, here we do have information about screen time, so we can set that up later. That's a new feature inside of iOS 12. We have True Tone Display, so we can see what it looks like without and with the True Tone Display enabled. It basically just tries to match the color temperature to that of its ambient surroundings, so whichever room you're in. You can see it does make a pretty big difference in blue light reduction there. So let's go ahead and tap continue. Tells us how to go home and continue again. Also quickly access control center. Okay, there we go. So we can swipe up. So many steps to get this guy set up now. I remember when you were actually going through the on-device setup and it was so simple. It was only just a few screens and of course signing in with your Apple ID. Now you have to go through like 50 different things. It's just so convoluted. But at any rate, here we go. This is the brand new iPhone XS. I personally don't really think it is worth the upgrade over the iPhone X, as I've already said up until this point. And if you do need to get a new iPhone this year, I would recommend trying to find a used iPhone X in good condition, because you're going to be able to score it for probably $700 or under. And in my opinion, the iPhone X is still better than the upcoming iPhone XR. Mostly because of its display. The OLED on the iPhone X is gorgeous. It still holds up a year later, and there are really no issues with it whatsoever. There are no problems with burn-in on the iPhone X, at least no widespread issues or knowledge about any sort of an issue with the iPhone X's display. And I can tell you from personal experience, mine is fantastic and it works flawless. I mean, there's really no reason to upgrade to the iPhone XS in my honest opinion. Now let's go ahead and launch up camera, because I really quick wanted to show you guys how it works when you adjust the bokeh effect or the f-stop after you've taken an image. All right, so what you have to do is make the selection to go to portrait, and then you just get your subject in frame like so, and you can take the picture. Now, when you edit the image, let's go to edit, you should be able to adjust it. Yep, you can see right there after the fact, which by the way, this looks gorgeous just without even adjusting anything. But as we do make that adjustment, the background becomes clearer or it becomes more blurry. So that bokeh effect becomes more pronounced when we slide the f-stop like so. Fantastic. This is honestly the best thing about the iPhone XS. However, I can't recommend it for just that feature alone, and there are of course third-party solutions that do provide similar functionality on older iPhones, but it just won't work quite as nice and flawless as Apple's execution and implementation of it in the iPhone XS and XS Max natively. All right, guys, that wraps up this video. Don't forget to check out our other Apple coverage linked below. Stay tuned for more, and until next time, this is ICU signing out.